Now, first, I do want to apologize for a lot of my content creator friends. A lot of content creators are just idiots and they'll just complain to complain for clicks.
Honestly, this is going to be a hot take. They need to not listen to streamers.
The worst thing that the developers could do right now is listen and make snap judgments, because there are some loud voices saying it needs to be quicker again.
I think they admitted to fucking up, and I think they're just going to do like live events like for Dance Kid. I think they're going to remove half the weapons. Honestly, this is going to be a hot take. They need to not listen to streamers. I think some streamers literally think that they know what the game needs, and it's completely wrong. It'd be a hot take, and I already got a lot of shit for it, but I think them listening to streamers and taking feedback from streamers pushed the game in a bad direction. Trying to make it a competitive game ruined it. I think the game is always competitive, but them trying to make an esport ruined it. One of the major issues that the game went down a wrong path was this game already has a super successful esports scene, right? Like, them trying to make Warzone an esport is just like a meme, you know? Example, they wanted in Warzone their a skill gap to be movement, right? Just like it is in Apex, but this is not Apex.
Now, I have seen some conversation about people thinking the game is too slow now, and they want the redeploy balloons back. They want the movement to be sped up. They want to be able to carry 12 players again. They want more chances to respawn. They think the game has got too slow. I think the worst thing that Call of Duty, the developers, could do right now is listen and make snap judgments, because there are some loud voices saying it needs to be quicker again. Put all these things back in the game again. That's the worst thing they could do. What they've done right now, in my opinion, if they stick with this and they build on it, they don't do anything crazy, if they stick with the foundation they've got now and establish that this is the core of Warzone, this is how Warzone feels, this is how it plays, make that baseline again so people have got an understanding of things, and don't do anything wacky and wild, the road ahead for the game is promising. But if they suddenly start making snap judgments and introduce swinging gameplay changes again, I don't think it's going to go down well. A lot of the good faith that they have restored is quickly going to go out the window. So I'm hoping that they stick to their guns and they carry this design philosophy going forward. Don't do anything crazy, Call of Duty. You've done good here. It's nice to see some positive sentiment for COD 2. That's not been around for a while. For me, if they stick like this, then Warzone is going to be a game that I play regularly again. I'm not going to play it as much as I used to in 2020, 2021, but it's a game that I can dip in and out of now. I'm quite enjoying trios. I'm enjoying solos. It's another option for me again, whereas last week, I wouldn't have even looked at it.
Now, first, I do want to apologize for a lot of my content creator friends, YouTubers, streamers, etc. that don't understand, I guess, the Warzone landscape. A lot of content creators are just respectfully idiots, and they'll just complain to complain for clicks, or they'll ask about stuff coming back into the game that nobody asked for except them, who is a 0.0001% player of the game. I miss when your life and how you played the game actually mattered. It shouldn't have been that you could just play the game brainless. Now you actually have to think about how you want to approach the game. You as a solo or as a team, rotate early, use vehicles, and I love that. I love that actually you have to value your life as a player, and I feel like there's kind of an open meta. Snipers, especially the HDR, is obviously insane because it can one-shot from anywhere. I think it's a good thing because more people that are playing the game again have a chance to kill anybody. I can't just turn my brain off and fly around now, and that's definitely thrown a lot of people off because they are not used to that if they've played Warzone in the last 2 years. I think it'd be better to have Warzone as its own separate game and its own separate updates and stuff compared to multiplayer. Will COD do that? I doubt it, but I think long term that's the play.
Streamers and top 1% players have already started talking about things like redeploy balloons not being in the game, have already started complaining about the HDR being a one-shot, and are clearly struggling to adapt to the pacing that is a very, very realistic capture of what Warzone used to be. The early days of Verdansk weren't about flying around the map dropping 30, 40, 50 kills. It was about a tense sandbox-based experience that allowed you to do wacky, funny, and crazy things, and maybe you strung together a win, but it wasn't a given. A game that fundamentally let the bottom 1% of player challenge the top 1% of player if they did intelligent things like position themselves early. So seeing these complaints about the game feeling too slow, about there not being enough cash, not being enough plates, about Verdansk as a map feeling quiet or having too much downtime, the things that made the original Verdansk special and made it a sandbox first and a BR second, is really, really key. We don't want to lose that essence, and we don't want to lose that feeling. The time to kill and one-shot snipers mean that everybody has a fair and reasonable chance to take on anybody so long as they've taken up good positions. Taking away these drones mean that people can't just randomly leave the map and land somewhere else and drop on an entire squad, and you actually have to make methodical decisions around your rotations and use vehicles around you which are much easier to see and attract more attention. This means that teams have to be a bit more intelligent and move a little bit more quickly, and you can be punished for your mistakes in terms of positioning. And if you do decide to use a vehicle, it makes it painstakingly obvious to the entire lobby that you are roaming around the place, and I think that's a huge bonus. And I've seen some people complain about there not being an indicator, and I will be perfectly honest with you, I thought this was a terrible change when they announced it. But you know what? I was damn well wrong. Not having an airstrike indicator and positional indicator means that the fear factor is back for airstrikes, and they actually make teams move and make squads get mobile again compared to what they have done before. And it honestly just feels fairly balanced. It feels like people actually have an opportunity to get kills in places that they previously couldn't have, and it puts more emphasis on positioning. By reducing the skill gap in the current environment that they have right now, it feels as though casual players have more of a chance, and it brings so much more of them back to the game. Now, yes, I do think there could be a handful more plates, but actually having to think about what you're looting and what you're bringing into endgame and how you could buy a plate box or pick up some useful resources to benefit yourself in these final circles feels like a huge positive, and again is a complaint that I think we're seeing online from the top 1% of players that should just be completely ignored. The reality is that this is the purest version of Warzone that most people enjoyed, the vast majority of people enjoyed. Worst thing I can picture and the worst thing that I can imagine is Call of Duty starts re-catering to these movement sweats, the top 1%, the comp players, and the streaming players who want these more competitive environments, because it takes away the fun of Verdansk and it takes away the fun of Warzone in the process. Warzone right now is the most fun I think it's been since it originally released, and I think it's the most fun for the majority of people. We don't need to force more balanced environments on players and try and give these, huge competitive balancing passes to the game, because there's a space for that now, and it's ranked play. Ranked play is a different world, a different environment, a different set of rules, and if we don't want one-shot snipers and we don't want certain XYZ ABC pieces of equipment, and maybe if we want more health, then use the ranked play environment to fuel that. Don't subject the entire player base to what a slither of the player base wants, even though they are core and most engaged.
If they stick with the foundation they've got now and establish that this is the core of Warzone, this is how Warzone feels, this is how it plays, make that baseline again so people have got an understanding of things, and don't do anything wacky and wild, the road ahead for the game is promising.